What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Oak Tree Football Channel, and welcome to another 2020 NFL schedule breakdown and record prediction. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the Atlanta Falcons 2020 schedule, and I'm going to be making my record prediction for them. So the Falcons are a pretty interesting team because they play in the NFC South, which in the offseason has turned into one of the best divisions in the NFL with the New Orleans Saints, who have been consistently good for the past few years, and now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with obviously Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and then a bunch of other great receivers and a pretty good defense. So it's a very tough division, but the Falcons are a team that is very underrated in this division. That is actually a pretty good team when you really look at it. They have a lot of talent. Matt Ryan is a very underrated quarterback. He arguably is top 10 in the NFL. Julio Jones is probably one of the best receivers in the NFL, probably top 3, I would say, maybe even top 2, maybe even he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Todd Gurley has been one of the best running backs in the NFL. He wasn't great last year, but he could have a bounce back year this season. We'll just see how he plays with the Falcons. But obviously, the Falcons made it to the Super Bowl a few years ago, and it looked like they were going to win, but they lost to the New England Patriots on that huge comeback. But will they be able to change that this year and make another run at the playoffs? Last year, it started off not great, but it ended really well. Will they be able to keep that momentum going? Let's get into this prediction. They went 7-9 last year, and they start off the season with a tough game against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are a team I expect to be pretty good this year, if I'm honest. Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They just have a lot of talent that really goes unnoticed to a lot of people. This is a home game for the Falcons, which is huge for them, but I kind of think it will be the Seahawks because I just think the Seahawks are a great, great team. This is a game that could really go either way, in my opinion. I think I'm going to go with the Seahawks, though. I think the Seahawks at home is going to be the Seahawks are going to be a dangerous team this year, even though it's a home game for the Falcons. I just think the Seahawks offense and defense will be enough. Seahawks have a good defense, even though it's not the Legion of Boom. It's still a very good defense, and they definitely have some good pieces on offense as well. If the running backs can stay healthy, they should have a good running game this year. Tyler Lockett's a good receiver, so this is going to be a tough one for Atlanta. They could get a win, but I think I'm going to give the win to Seahawks. Week 2, they have a road game against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I think the Cowboys are being a bit overrated by some people this season, but I still expect the Cowboys to be a pretty good team. It was a great draft. It was a pretty good offseason. It wasn't a great offseason, but it was a pretty good offseason. Dak Prescott still hasn't reached his prime yet, so he could have a big year this season, honestly. Ezekiel Elliott is a great running back. They have one of the better receiving corps in the NFL now. So the Cowboys are a team to look out for, and I really don't think the Falcons will be able to beat them in Dallas. I think it's possible, but I just think coming off a tough game against the Seahawks, playing a very good team in the Dallas Cowboys, I think I'm going to give the win to the Cowboys in this one. Week 3, this is an easier game compared to the other ones. It's still a pretty tough one, but compared to the others, it's a lot easier playing the Chicago Bears at home. I expect the Chicago Bears to be a pretty good team this year. Not anything special, but not too bad either. So this is going to be an interesting game, but I think the Falcons are better than the Bears. This is a home game for the Falcons. That's really big for them, so I think the Falcons should be able to get their first win of the season in Week 3. Week 4, they have a road game against the Green Bay Packers. Packers had a fantastic season last year, and I do think they will take a step back this year, but I still expect the Packers to be a good team, and this is going to be a tough one for the Falcons. Coming into Green Bay at Lambeau Field, it's going to be tough for them to win. If this is a home game for the Falcons, it's a very, very winnable game. But it's a home game for Green Bay, which is big for the Packers. I think I'm going to have to go with the Packers on this one. I do think Aaron Rodgers isn't as good as he once was, and the running game looks pretty good, honestly, with Aaron Jones, but drafting A.J. Dillon is kind of questionable, and just the draft overall just was questionable. They're losing some talent, but the Packers should still be a good team this year, and I'm going to pick them to beat the Atlanta Falcons. Week 5, they play the Panthers at home. Now, this game, in my opinion, should be a pretty easy one. I am not that high on the Panthers this year, even though I think the Panthers are pretty talented. I just don't think they're as good as some other teams in the NFL and in their division even playing the Falcons. So I think the Falcons can win this one. This is a home game for them. I definitely think they're better than the Panthers. So I'm going to pick the Falcons in this one. Because they'll probably, if they're going to have some problems, it will be early in the season. So at this point, they'll start to figure more things out. And I think they should be able to win this one against the Panthers fairly easily. So if they lose all their games at this point, if they're only going to win one game in the first 5 weeks, I think they'll be against the Panthers, in my opinion. Week 6, they have a tough game on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. In my opinion, the Minnesota Vikings are actually going to take a step back this year. I just don't know. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. I feel that, Kirk Cousins is interesting decision at quarterback. I think Dalvin Cook's a very good running back. But they're losing Stephon Diggs. They're losing so much talent on their defense. And even though they definitely do have a lot of talent, there's going to be a lot of holes for them this year. But I still see this being a tough game for the Falcons. It's on the road against a good Vikings team. I know I just said that they are losing some talent, but they're still going to be a good team this year. And I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. Two pretty good teams. I think I'm going to go with the Vikings, so I think the home field advantage is going to help them out in this one. Would not be surprised if the Falcons win, but I think the home field advantage will help the Vikings win. Week 7, they play the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions, I think, will get better this year, but I think the Falcons should win this one. This is a home game for them, and I do think they are still better than the Lions. I think Matt Ryan is better than Matt Stafford. I think Todd Gurley is a better running back than Kerryon Johnson. And I think that Atlanta probably has a better receiving core with Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. So just those 3 positions I think the Falcons are better at. And then I think the Falcons are better at a lot of other positions as well. So I just think the Falcons are the better team than the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to go with the Falcons for this one. Week 8, they play on the road against the Panthers. Like I said earlier, I just don't expect the Panthers to be that good this year. This could be a tough one because it is a road game, but I still expect the Falcons to be able to get the win. It should be closer than the last one, but I still think that the Falcons are going to be good enough. Week 9 is a very interesting game, a pretty tough one to predict, to be honest. Playing the Broncos. The Broncos are a team I expect to be very good this season. Drew Lock should be a very good quarterback, in my opinion. I think he'll have a big season. And there's a lot of talent on this Broncos team. Phillip Lindsay's a good running back. Melvin Gordon's a good running back. The receivers are very, very good. They are some younger receivers, but they definitely have the talent to be very good. And then they have some pieces on their defense that are very good, like Von Miller, and Bradley Chubb's coming back this year. So the Broncos should be a good team, but that being said, the Falcons should also be a good team, and this is a home game for the Falcons, which is huge for them. I think I'm going to give it to the Falcons as of right now. I feel like this game could go either way, honestly, because I think these teams are both very talented. It is a home game for the Falcons, like I said, which is big for them. So I think I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one. Would not be surprised if the Broncos win, though. Week 10, they have a bye week. It's a bit late for a bye, but not too late. Week 11, this is one of the toughest games this year, playing at the New Orleans Saints. I just don't see them winning this game, to be honest. The New Orleans Saints, in my opinion, I'm very, very high on the Saints this year. I think the Saints will be very good this season. It's a divisional matchup, and the Falcons have beat the Saints in the past, and I think maybe they'll beat them in the second game these two teams play. I just don't see it happening at home for the New Orleans. For Atlanta, I think New Orleans will win this game probably pretty easily, honestly. I just think the Saints are a lot better than the Falcons. I mean, it's possible the Falcons could win this one, but I just don't see it happening. I think the Saints are too good for the Falcons, especially this being a home game for the Saints. I mean, Drew Brees should be a good quarterback. Alvin Kamara should be healthy this year. Michael Thomas is a fantastic wide receiver. Marshawn Lattimore is normally a pretty good cornerback. Cameron Jordan's pretty good on the defensive line. There's just so much talent on the Saints team, and this should be a great year for them, and I don't think the Falcons will win this one. Week 12, they play the now Las Vegas Raiders. This is going to be an interesting one. It's a home game for the Falcons. I'm not too high on the Raiders this year, to be honest. I think the Falcons should win this one because it is a home game. Maybe they'll lose because they're coming off a tough game at the Saints, but I still think they're good enough to win this game, to be honest. I'm going to pick the Falcons in this one. I think it's possible that the Raiders will get the upset. I mean, I would call it an upset, but I'm still expecting the Falcons to get the win here. And then Week 13, it's the rematch against the Saints. This is a tough one to predict because without a doubt, in my opinion, the Saints are the better team. But this is a home game for the Falcons. The Falcons have beat the Saints for the past few years, a few times. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting and should be one of the better games of the week. I mean, the talent is pretty similar, honestly. I still think the Saints are better at some positions, but at some positions, like the wide receiver position, I think these are the two best wide receivers in the NFL, Michael Thomas and Julio Jones. Two pretty good quarterbacks going up against each other, Matt Ryan versus Drew Brees. Two pretty good running backs going up against each other, Todd Gurley versus Alvin Kamara. A lot of talent on these two teams that are going up against each other should make for a very interesting game. And I really could see it going either way. Week 14, they play on the road against the Chargers. The Chargers are a very interesting team because their defense is very good, and they have some very good pieces on their offense, except for the quarterback position. The quarterback position is a big, big question mark. They will most likely be led by Tyrod Taylor, but potentially Justin Herbert. Tyrod Taylor has been an okay quarterback in the past, nothing special. He did lead the Bills to the playoffs a few years ago, but they lost in the first round to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I think Tyrod Taylor will be fine at quarterback, but I think that is going to be what makes them not able to get into the playoffs. I think with a real better starting quarterback such as Cam Newton, the Chargers would be a playoff team. Maybe not Cam Newton now because I'm not so sure about Cam Newton after the injury and stuff. But a few years ago with the Cam Newton, if Cam Newton would play like that, this is a 100% a playoff team. It's just the quarterbacks that's a big question. But I think the Chargers could win this game because it is a home game for them. I mean, the Chargers, there's not many fans really. I mean, the Chargers don't really fill out their stadiums most of the time, but it is still kind of home field advantage in a way. I mean, it's not the best home field advantage, but I mean, it is still home field advantage at the end of the day. But it's going to be an interesting one. I think I'm going to give it to the Chargers because I do think the Chargers are a talented team. 100%, the Falcons could easily win this game, in my opinion, though. Week 15, they played the Buccaneers. This is an interesting one. It's a home game for Atlanta. And the Buccaneers, in my opinion, I think the Buccaneers are a bit overrated this year. And to be honest, I do think it's possible they don't make the playoffs with how many good teams there are in the NFC, because I think the Saints will win the division, and then there's multiple teams I think could get those 3 final spots for the NFC playoff. There's multiple teams I could see making it in before the Buccaneers, but I still expect the Buccaneers to get better this year, be a very good team. Not so sure about Tom Brady and Gronk, though, because, I mean, Tom Brady, quarterbacks in their first year with Bruce Arians' system don't usually play great, and Rob Gronkowski really has not played in over a year, and I think it was one of Tom Brady's worst seasons he's ever had last year. So, I mean, I don't really think the Buccaneers will be great. I feel that they are being overhyped by some people, which is why I'm going to give the Falcons the win in this one. It's a home game for them. I think they are almost as good as the Buccaneers. I still think the Buccaneers are better, but I think they're almost as good, so I'm going to give the Falcons the win. Week 16, I just don't see them winning this game. Playing at the Kansas City Chiefs, I just don't see it happening. There's 2 games this season where I just don't see it happening. No chance, in my opinion. That is at the Saints and that is at the Chiefs. Potentially even at the Cowboys, but 2 games that I just don't see them winning at the Saints and at the Chiefs. I just don't see them winning this game. The Chiefs are way too talented. Patrick Mahomes is probably the best quarterback in the NFL. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they just drafted, should be a great running back. Tyreek Hill is one of the best deep threats in the NFL. Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Very good offensive line, and a pretty underrated defense as well. And the Chiefs are at home for this game. I just don't see there being a chance that Atlanta wins. 100% going with Kansas City, and then they end the season off on the road against the Buccaneers. This time I'm going to give the Buccaneers the win because I think the home field advantage will help them out. I mean, I could still see the Falcons winning this one as well, but I think I'm going to give it to the Buccaneers. So now, as I always do, I'll go through each game once again. I'll give my prediction for I think we'll win. I think they'll lose to the Seahawks and lose to the Cowboys, beat the Bears, but lose to the Packers, beat the Panthers. I think they will lose to the Vikings. I think they'll beat the Lions, beat the Panthers again, beat the Broncos. I think they'll lose to the Saints after their bye. I think they'll beat the Raiders. Then this time they'll beat the Saints. I think they'll lose to the Chargers, beat the Buccaneers once, lose to the Chiefs, and lose to the Buccaneers for the second time, or we'll lose to the Buccaneers in Week 17. So you have a record of 8-8 on the year. I think the Falcons are a very good team, very, very talented team, and definitely have a talent to make a playoff spot, and even definitely have a better record than this. But they just have an insanely tough schedule. They're in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. The others, I think there's really 3 real tough divisions in the NFL. That's the AFC North, the NFC South, and the NFC West. So they're in one of the 3 toughest divisions in the league, in my opinion. They just have some tough games on the road, and then they have a lot of tough home games as well. So I think it's possible the Falcons are a better team than this. Their schedule is just so hard, in my opinion. With an easier schedule, this is a serious contender for the playoffs, but I just think a tough schedule is really going to take away their chance at making the playoff. I think it's possible, but I feel they'll lose to the Saints, lose to the Chiefs. I feel they'll lose to the Buccaneers once. And then there's just a few other games in there that they'll probably lose. They'll probably lose at the Packers, in my opinion. Probably lose at the Cowboys. That's 5 losses right there. At the Vikings, it's going to be tough. Maybe they even drop one at the Panthers. I don't think so, but it's possible. At the Chargers is going to be tough. They just have a lot of tough road games. Those are their 8 road games right there, and those are all pretty tough, except for maybe at the Panthers and potentially even at the Chargers. But I think 8-8, or I think they'll go somewhere between 7-9 or 9-7 this year. It's just too tough a schedule in my opinion. But these are my thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons for the season. What are your guys' thoughts? Tell me in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you are new around here, feel free to subscribe for more daily NFL and college football content. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.